So potentially a volatile week in the crypto market as BTC starts to struggle against resistance after a very impressive rally over the last few weeks. Not only that, but we've got a lot of data coming out this week which could impact the market. So are we going to see a rally up to 100k plus or a deeper pullback? Not only that, but everyone is starting to scream alt season. So I'll be going over the key metrics to keep an eye on to see whether it's for real or just another fake out. So let's get into it. So let's start by taking a look at Bitcoin, then we'll take a look at some of the data coming out later in the week, and then finally we'll go on to Ethereum and those alt season indicators. So as I say, starting with BTC on the weekly time frame, looking very good, very positive. We've made higher highs, so we've broken this previous lower high here, 88k, which was heavy resistance. On the weekly time frame, weekly moving average 21, a couple of wicks into that area. As I say, macro lower high. It looked like we were starting to form a downtrend on the weekly time frame. We were below the RSI 50 as well. However, nice strong impulsive candle last week, closing, as I say, back above the previous lower high and back inside this weekly range between 91k and 104k. So nice strong weekly candle, looking very good. And as long as we hold 91k on the weekly time frame, we should be all good for a retest of all-time highs. If we go down to the daily time frame though, we have a little bit of trouble locally. So we've got this daily resistance here at 95.5k, which was heavy support all the way through February, as you can see, before we started that breakdown down to the bottom of 75k. So heavy resistance at the moment. Would not be surprised to see a pullback, and if we do, probably into this area, as I just mentioned, that weekly and daily range low of 91.3k. We've also got this daily fair value gap, which starts at around 91.7 and goes down to about 88.6k. Now, that 88.6k level also has nice confluence with this previous high back on the 24th, 25th, 26th of March, and it was also tested as a resistance on the 2nd of April as well. So previous resistance likely to be flipped as support if we do come down, retest that area. Also further confluence with the daily moving average 21 as well. So if we do see that pullback, as I say, areas to watch 91.3 and then 88.5k. However, if we do break above 95.6k, this resistance level there, then I'm expecting a very fast move up to 98.6, which is the daily mid-range. Clear that, which is obviously heavy resistance all the way through February. Clear that, and then it's a pretty clear run up to 104k, that weekly and daily range highs, which is pretty much the all-time highs. So now let's go take a look at some of the data that's being released this week, which could impact the markets and decide which way we end up going. So in terms of the data coming out this week, today we've got the PCE. Tomorrow on Thursday, we've got initial jobless claims. And on Friday, we've got US non-farm payrolls. Now, my personal opinion, the most important one is today with the PCE index. So the PCE is another inflation metric, and it's the one favored by the Fed over the CPI. So that's the one they're going to be paying the most attention to when it comes to deciding what they're going to do with interest rates. Now, at the moment, if we take a look, you can see the previous versus the medium forecast on the PCE. It's looking like it's going to be coming down, which is obviously good for inflation. However, what is likely to happen is if there's good data, then the Fed are likely to remain paused and not change interest rates, which is probably going to lead to some chop and consolidation in the markets. However, if there's bad data, then the Fed are going to feel the need to step in and change things before anything breaks, and so lower those interest rates, which is going to cause risk assets to go on a run. Not only that, we've got to think about any potential headlines or any statements made by Donald Trump as well. So drop in the comments below what you think is going to happen, both in terms of data and in terms of anything that could come out of Donald Trump's mouth and what impact that might have on the market, both short term and long term. So as I said at the beginning of the video, everyone is starting to scream alt season. However, it's a little bit too early in my opinion. And not only that, but we've seen plenty of fake outs in this cycle before, people calling alt season before it actually happens, and then it ends up rolling over and alts go on to make new lows. So let's take a look and have a little refresh and a reminder of the key indicators to keep an eye on to tell whether we are actually starting an alt season or whether it's just a short-term altcoin rally. So of course, first of all, you're going to need Ethereum to start doing well, and at the moment it's not looking too bad. In terms of the monthly time frame, we are holding this level here at $1,530, which is an important key level. However, it is the bottom of September 2023, so literally the last 2 years of price action wiped out over the last few months. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is working on a fifth red monthly candle, which doesn't scream strength. However, as I say, nice reaction to this 1,530 level so far, and on the weekly time frame as well. Decent bounce, nice wick down to $1,400 before having a nice little bounce. Now, in terms of the local price action on the daily time frame, similar to BTC, we've got a little bit of overhead resistance at 1865. So previous support here now flipped to resistance. However, in terms of price structure, looking good. We've broken these previous highs here at about $1,660. So we've cleared that, made a higher high. We're trending above the moving average 21. We're trending above the RSI 50, and we've got a nice bit of support here with the daily fair value gap. So if we are going to see a rejection, or if we're going to see price pull back, whether that's due to price action or data coming out, then you're going to see this daily fair value gap probably get filled. So any area between sort of 1750 and 1660 looks really good for a potential buy or a long entry. However, you really don't want to see us closing below this daily fair value gap, because that is, as I say, got confluence with this previous resistance, now support. You don't want to be deviating back inside this area of consolidation to show strength. So nice little wick down into the fair value gap, hold the daily moving average 21, create that, confirm that higher low, and then come up and retest 1865, break above that, and then we can start talking about breaking 2k as that, which is obviously that big higher time frame level of resistance. If we can get back above 2k on a higher time frame close, weekly or monthly, then I think we could be back in business. But as I say, still plenty of steps to go before that happens. Let's see how the week ends up closing, and of course the monthly candle closes today as well. So in terms of other factors you got to look at, the main one is Bitcoin dominance, and this has been in a very strong uptrend literally since the bottom of November 2022, and it shows no signs of stopping. So the two huge alt seasons we've had in the past, obviously we had December 2017, January 2018, huge drop in dominance from around 68%, well, it actually spiked up to 70% in the middle of December 2017, and then dropped all the way down to 35%. That was a huge alt season. The other one, which a lot more people will probably remember, was January till May 2021, where we spiked up to 73.5% dominance and came all the way down to 40%. We're now at around 65%. So are we going to see one more push up into the 70s area before we break down? It's looking likely. As I say, this candle, monthly candle, even though we're at resistance, shows no sign of turning around. On the weekly time frame, we've not had a red candle since the middle of February, towards the end of Feb. So continuing to march on, and in terms of the day, there's not really much point looking at the daily time frame on the Bitcoin dominance, but as I say, this is still looking pretty strong as well. So Bitcoin dominance showing no signs of a reversal, which is what you need to see, or one of the things you need to see for an alt season. The other factor is ETH BTC. Now, whether this will be as much of a factor this cycle compared to previous cycles, we'll have to wait and see. But again, you would like to see this showing a bit of strength in terms of another indicator for alt season. At the moment, it is on the very last line of support here at 0.0, call it 0.018. Again, literally haven't seen these prices since January 2020 and August 2019. So a lot of gains from ETH BTC given up over the past couple of years. If we lose this level, then we may well see a drop all the way back to the December 16, January 2017 levels of sub 0.01. But at the moment, holding that level, and with the monthly candle close today, it's looking likely that we're going to hold it. In terms of the weekly time frame, again, no signs of life at the moment. A small bounce off of this monthly level, but really no momentum whatsoever. And even on the daily time frame, we haven't even got a daily candle close above the daily moving average 21. We haven't had one since this candle here, 23rd of Feb, but that was very short-lived. very small deviation, and then we've been trending below it since. So as I say, you at least need to see this start trending on the daily time frame back above the moving average 21, start making higher highs, higher lows, and then on the weekly time frame again start breaking some previous highs, and then on the monthly, if we can get a monthly candle close back above 0.02, re-enter this range, then we can start talking about some potential strength on ETH BTC. The other one you want to keep an eye on is a total 3 BTC chart. So this is the crypto market cap minus obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum as well versus Bitcoin. So you want to see obviously altcoins showing strength against BTC. That's what alt season is, when altcoins outperform Bitcoin, not just when they're going up in USD alongside Bitcoin, when they're actually outperforming. So they're going up faster than BTC. And at the moment, as you can see, not happening. This is a pretty significant level. This is 0.47. As you can see, this was the level we broke in March and April 2021 before we went on that huge rally. So yeah, it's been pretty significant support and resistance in the past, and as you can see, we are trending below it at the moment. So you want to at least see this get back above that 0.47 level before we start talking about a potential alt season and others dominance as well. This is breaking or losing a key level at 8.58%. And again, this was the level we broke above and deviated January 2021 before we went on that mad alt season. And as I say, we lost it as support last month and we are still trending below. So once again, we want to at least see a monthly candle close back above this 8.58% level alongside everything else, all the other indicators, and then we might well start to see some outperformance on the altcoins. Now we have had a few altcoins. If we take a look at this alt season index on blockchaincenter.net. Now this I think is a pretty terrible indicator, this top one here where it says altcoin season and Bitcoin season, because it's a very lagging indicator. So if we take a look at some of the tops here where it said altcoin season or altcoin month, literally May 2024, which was the end of that late 23 beginning of 2024 alt season, we had July 2024 in the summer, and then the beginning to middle of December, which as we know, we then saw things crash. So I wouldn't rely on this, but what I would look at is down here, the top 50 performance over the last month. And as you can see, BTC is that black candle sort of to the left of the center, and everything to the left of that has outperformed it, but there's not that much there. There's Tau, Sui, Hype, and then you've got like Trump coin. XMR we know was due to a theft, and then the Bitcoin got converted into XMR, so or Monero, so we know that's not legitimate. And then Algo, Pepe, and even though they've outperformed, they've not outperformed massively. So it's still very early days. If this is going to be an alt season, it's still very early days, and there's not really that many outperformers. If we take a look at Sui in particular, so if we take a look at this on the weekly time frame, we have come in to a level of resistance here after a pretty significant run. So I would be very cautious about FOMO into things. It's already up 125% in the USDT pair. Heavy resistance here on the weekly time frame. And in fact, I think if you grab a fib and go from the bottom to the top, it's pretty much the 618 retracement. So I would not be surprised to see a pullback on Sui. If we go to the daily time frame, some areas for potential bids on the daily time frame. You've got these daily fair value gaps, one between $3.27 and $3.07, and then one further down. If we do see a deeper pullback from BTC, maybe due to the data that comes out, we've got the daily fair value gap between $2.90 and $2.75, which also has confluence with the daily moving average 21 as well. What you also want to do with your altcoins is check their BTC pairs. So Sui actually in a very interesting spot in its BTC pair. You've got this really clean line of support and resistance here at 3,000, what's that, about 3,500 sats. You can see resistance at its inception, resistance here in January and Feb 2024, broke above it in December, deviated, got back below it in February, and now looking like we may well close above it on today's monthly candle close. If we take a look at the weekly as well, interesting level at 3,783 sats. Again, you can see resistance here in May 2023, resistance in January and Feb 2024, resistance in October 2024, a little bit of chop here, but held as support in December, and then we got back below it here in January and held as resistance throughout February as well. So interesting area of resistance. If we get a strong weekly candle close above this area of 3,783 sats, that could well signal a move to the all-time highs, especially with the monthly candle close above this monthly level as well. So drop in the comments below what altcoins you're looking at, what's on your list. Do you think alt season is coming, or do you think it's another fake out? Also, let us know what you think is going to happen with data this week and what's going to happen with Bitcoin in the short and medium term. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.